Someone is thinking about you right now. Not casually. Not the way people wonder what to eat for dinner or whether they remembered to lock the door. They are thinking about you the way the tide always returns to the shore. Again and again. Quietly. Constantly. Even when nobody sees it. And yet they are not here. They are not calling. They are not reaching out. They continue to keep their distance. What you may not realize, what almost nobody has explained, is the one hidden reason why. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you understand love. There is a certain kind of silence that hurts more than any argument ever could. It is not the silence of someone who stopped caring. It is not the silence of someone who forgot about you. It is the silence of someone who cares so deeply, so fully, and so intensely that they no longer know what to do with those feelings. You have felt this kind of silence, haven't you? You have sat alone and felt the absence of this person almost like a physical weight pressing against your heart. You have looked at your phone not because you truly expected a message, but because some deeper instinct inside you kept whispering that they were thinking about you too. And they were, they still are, but they continue to stay away. The reason is not hidden inside their love. It is hidden inside their oldest emotional wound. Sometimes the people who affect us the most become mirrors that reveal parts of ourselves we have avoided for years. The closer someone gets to our heart, the more clearly they reflect our deepest fears. The person who loves you and still keeps their distance is not doing it because their feelings disappeared. They are doing it because loving you uncovered something inside them. They have been trying to escape for a very long time. Something that existed long before your paths ever crossed. Something that is not your fault, yet it shapes every step they take toward or away from you. Keep listening, because the next part explains why this happens more often than most people realize. Think about this carefully. Imagine loving someone so deeply that simply being near them becomes like standing in front of a mirror that reflects every hidden part of your life. You no longer see only the person you love. You begin seeing yourself more clearly than ever before. You notice your mistakes. You remember your disappointments. You remember the younger version of yourself, who believed love always ended with someone leaving. You remember every closed door, every goodbye that arrived without warning, every promise that slowly disappeared. When love reaches this level, it stops being only an emotion. It becomes a journey into places inside the heart that have remained untouched for years. Not everyone is ready for that journey. Some people need more time before they can face what genuine closeness reveals. This is not an excuse for painful behavior. Please understand that it does not erase the hurt or make the distance easier. The pain is real. It lingers because what you shared felt real. Sometimes the deepest connections bring the strongest ache, not because they were false, but because they touched something true. The sadness you carry is not always proof that love failed. Sometimes it is proof that love mattered. Real love almost always asks something from both people. The question is never whether love will demand growth. The real question is whether both hearts are willing to face what that growth requires. One person may already be walking through that process while the other is still standing at the entrance, unsure whether they are ready to take the first step. Stay with me, because what happens inside their mind every single day may surprise you. The person who loves you yet stays away often wakes each morning with thoughts of you before anything else enters their mind. Before work, before responsibilities, before the routine of another ordinary day begins. You appear first. For a brief moment there is warmth, then almost immediately fear follows. For them, happiness and fear have become deeply connected. They rarely experience one without the other. Somewhere in their past, life taught them that wanting someone completely also meant risking unbearable loss. Maybe someone they trusted disappeared. Maybe promises were broken too many times. Maybe love once gave them hope before taking everything away. Those experiences quietly trained their mind to believe that the closer they become to someone, the greater the danger of losing them. So they step back before life has the chance to do it for them, not because you are unimportant. Quite the opposite. You matter so much that the thought of losing you already feels painful, even before anything has actually happened. Their heart wants closeness while another part of them desperately searches for safety. These two forces pull against each other every single day. From the outside it looks confusing. Inside them it feels exhausting. Keep watching, because the next truth explains why their actions often seem to contradict everything they truly feel. There is something many people experience after emotional pain that quietly shapes every future relationship. Part of them longs for closeness, while another part becomes afraid of it. They want connection, but the closer someone gets, the louder their survival instincts become. Their body remembers old pain, even when their mind wants something different. That is why they sometimes move closer, then suddenly step away again. Not because they are trying to confuse you, not because they enjoy emotional games. Inside them there is an invisible battle between the person who wants to love freely and the person still trying to protect old wounds that never fully healed. You may have spent countless nights asking yourself what you did wrong. You replayed conversations. You searched every memory. You wondered whether one sentence, one mistake, or one ordinary moment somehow pushed them away. You carried responsibility for a silence that was never truly yours to carry. The distance was not created because you failed to be enough. It existed because they are still fighting battles that began long before you became part of their story. Understanding this may not remove every ounce of pain, but it can finally free you from blaming yourself for something you never caused. And there is one final truth about this silence that almost nobody talks about. Once you understand it, you may never look at this connection the same way again. And that may be the hardest part of this entire experience. Not simply that someone loves you and chooses to stay away, but that their distance can quietly make you question your own value. It can feel as though their silence is proof that something is wrong with you, as though you are too much, or maybe not enough, as though you are somehow impossible to truly love. But none of that is true, not even for a moment. Pain has a strange way of changing the stories we tell ourselves. When the heart hurts, it does not immediately search for truth. It searches for an explanation that makes the pain feel understandable. Too often the first explanation we create is that we somehow deserved to be left behind. But you did not deserve that. Let those words settle inside you. Whatever happened between you and this person, whatever created this distance, however many days, weeks, or months have passed without answers, you did not make a mistake so terrible that you deserve love hidden in silence. You do not deserve a connection that lives only behind closed doors. You do not deserve to be someone's private comfort, their quiet source of happiness, the person they think about every day but never have the courage to openly choose. You deserve a love that stands beside you without hesitation, a love that speaks clearly, a love that does not disappear whenever fear appears. Whether that future is with this person or someone still making their way toward your life, it begins by understanding what is truly happening beneath the surface. Stay with me, because the next truth explains everything in a completely different way. The hidden reason they keep their distance is not that they stopped loving you. It is that inside their emotional world, love and loss have become impossible to separate. Their past quietly taught them that every beautiful beginning eventually leads to pain. Maybe it started in childhood. Maybe it came from parents who were emotionally distant, unpredictable, or unavailable. Maybe it came from relationships that began with hope but ended in heartbreak. Somewhere along the way, an invisible wound formed, one they may have never spoken about to anyone. Since then, love and grief have arrived together inside them. The moment they begin caring deeply for someone, another part of them immediately prepares for goodbye. Before anything has gone wrong, they already fear losing everything. Before you have fully entered their life, they are already imagining what it will feel like when you leave. That fear becomes so overwhelming that they freeze. They become quiet. They pull away. They convince themselves that distance is safer than closeness. It is not because they want to hurt you. It is because fear has become louder than hope. Keep listening, because what is happening inside them is even more heartbreaking than most people ever realize. If you could somehow step inside their heart for just a few minutes, everything might suddenly make sense. If you could read the messages they never send, hear the conversations they have with themselves late at night, or feel the longing they hide behind silence, you would probably stop wondering whether they cared. Instead, you might feel something even heavier. You might feel sadness for them. There are few things more lonely than loving someone with your whole heart while feeling unable to express it. Imagine wanting closeness more than anything, yet feeling trapped behind invisible walls built years before you even understood what love was. They are not only keeping their distance from you, they are also avoiding the version of themselves that your love asks them to become. That version requires trust. It requires openness. It requires allowing another person to truly see them without wearing emotional armor. For someone carrying old pain, that can feel almost impossible. The walls protecting them were built to survive difficult seasons. Taking those walls down feels dangerous, even if those same walls are now keeping happiness out. Stay with me, because the next part reveals why these hidden fears continue controlling their choices without them even realizing it. Deep inside every person are emotions, memories, and fears that have been pushed away for years. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. They simply become quieter, stronger, and more influential beneath the surface. Without realizing it, people begin making choices based on fears they never fully faced. The person who loves you but keeps their distance is often being guided by these unseen wounds. Somewhere inside they learned that being completely seen meant risking rejection. They came to believe that if someone truly knew every part of them, they would eventually leave. So they convinced themselves that the safest love is the love they never fully express. If they never open their heart completely, they believe they cannot be completely abandoned. At least that is what fear tells them. But fear leaves out one important truth. Trying to avoid heartbreak by refusing closeness does not prevent loss. It creates it. Every day they hide what they feel is another day they lose the very connection they are trying so hard to protect. Every step backward becomes another missed opportunity for happiness. The silence they believe is keeping them safe slowly becomes the very thing causing the emptiness they fear most. And there is one final realization that could change everything, so don't miss what comes next. If they are ever going to break free from this pattern, something inside them must change first. It cannot be forced by another person. It cannot happen because someone waits long enough. It begins when they become willing to face their own fear instead of running from it. They must learn to sit with uncomfortable emotions without immediately creating distance. They must notice the desire to pull away and choose, even for one small moment, not to follow it. Instead of asking themselves, what if this ends? They must slowly begin asking a different question. What if this actually becomes something beautiful? That small shift changes everything. Real healing starts when fear no longer controls every decision. It begins when they understand that protecting themselves from imagined heartbreak has been keeping them from experiencing real love. The life they believed they were preserving through distance was never truly full. It was only safe. And safety without connection eventually becomes another form of loneliness. Sometimes the greatest risk is not opening your heart. Sometimes the greatest risk is spending your whole life keeping it closed. And what happens when they finally understand that truth may be the moment everything begins to change. It is not really living. It is only practicing for a life that never fully begins. It is a quiet attempt to feel safe. But that search for safety has slowly taken away the very thing that makes life meaningful. Maybe you have asked yourself over and over what you should do now. Should you reach out one more time? Should you stay silent? Is your patience a sign of wisdom, or have you been sacrificing too much of yourself? Does love mean waiting, or does it mean continuing your own journey, even when someone else is not ready to walk beside you? These questions rarely come with simple answers, but there is one truth you need to hear. You cannot love another person into becoming ready. You cannot be so patient, so kind, so understanding, or so perfect that you heal wounds they are still refusing to face. Love is not something that repairs another person's pain by itself. Love is an invitation, and every invitation can either be accepted or left unanswered. What you can do, what you must do, is stay honest with yourself. Be clear about what your heart truly needs. Be honest about what you are willing to give, and how long you can continue giving without receiving the same care in return. That honesty is not selfish, it is healthy. Stay with me, because the next part may completely change the way you see this connection. Every person eventually reaches one of the hardest choices life can offer. It is not a choice between right and wrong. It is not even a choice between comfort and uncertainty. It is the choice between the love that already exists but never fully arrives, and the love that is still making its way toward you. One love is present but distant, real but restrained, deeply felt but never clearly spoken. The other has not appeared yet, but when it does, it comes ready to stay, ready to choose, ready to face fear instead of hiding behind it. That kind of love is possible. You deserve that kind of love. At the same time, it is also true that people can change, they can heal, they can grow beyond the fears that once controlled every decision they made. Sometimes life becomes painful enough that they finally stop running. They turn around and face what they have avoided for years. And when they do, they often discover that what they feared was never a monster at all. It was their own longing, their own need to love and be loved, their own heart asking to be seen. The moment they recognize that truth, everything can begin to shift. But keep watching, because this next truth may be the one that matters most. Even though people are capable of changing, you cannot build your entire future around the hope that someone else eventually will. That is no longer love. It becomes sacrifice. And when sacrifice continues without balance, it slowly empties the person making it. You cannot spend years waiting without that waiting, changing something inside you. Little by little, your heart begins believing that love always means standing outside someone else's closed door, hoping, waiting, wondering, knocking gently while never knowing if anyone will answer. If that becomes your definition of love, you may carry it into every future relationship, even the healthy ones, even the ones where someone would gladly welcome you with open arms, if only you believed it was possible. So let me speak directly to the tired version of you, the version that has tried to understand every silence, the version that has explained away every excuse, the version that has carried both your own love and another person's fear with remarkable patience for far longer than anyone should be expected to. Stay with me, because what comes next could be exactly what your heart has needed to hear. You are allowed to put the weight down. You are allowed to stop carrying a relationship that only one person is actively holding together. You are allowed to need what you need without shrinking those needs just to make someone else more comfortable. Wanting real love is not asking for too much. Wanting honesty is not being demanding. Wanting someone to choose you openly is not a weakness. It is one of the most natural desires any human heart can have. You deserve a love that exists in the open. A love that is spoken, shown, shared, and lived without fear. There is nothing selfish about wanting that. In fact, saying it clearly without apologizing may finally bring clarity to a situation that has stayed uncertain for far too long. And clarity, even when it hurts, is where healing begins. The moment you stop accepting confusion as a replacement for commitment, something has to change. Either the person who has loved you from a distance will finally recognize what they are about to lose and choose courage over fear, or they will continue standing still. If they choose nothing, then they have still made a choice. Painful as that truth may be, it gives you something uncertainty never could. It gives you the freedom to move forward. Keep listening, because understanding what happens next changes everything. Grief is not the opposite of love. It is one of love's deepest expressions. Many people believe grief means something failed. They believe it proves they cared too much or trusted too deeply. But grief is simply love that no longer has a place to go. It is love still living inside you after the connection has moved beyond your reach. Allowing yourself to fully feel that sadness is not weakness. It is respect for something that mattered. It is acknowledging that what you experienced was real, The connection was real, the hope was real, the joy, the confusion, the warmth, and even the pain all belonged to something meaningful. None of it was imagined, and now your story reaches a new chapter. This has never been only about someone who loves you while keeping their distance. It has also been about what love reveals inside every human heart when it reaches its limits. It has been about how pain, when faced honestly, becomes one of life's greatest teachers. The shared wound between two people who care deeply but cannot quite meet each other becomes the place where an old story ends and a new one quietly begins. You are changing through this experience, even if today it only feels like pain. Real growth often feels exactly like that while it is happening. You are becoming someone who understands the difference between love that quietly fades and love that truly stays. You are learning to care deeply without losing yourself. You are discovering that another person's fear does not have to silence your own voice. Those are not small lessons. They are the kind that shape the strongest and most compassionate people for the rest of their lives. Many people believe the hidden part of the mind is only a place where painful memories are stored. But it is much more than that. It is also where new beginnings quietly grow. It is where creativity, deep connection, and real change often begin before they ever appear on the surface. The emotions people bury are not only obstacles standing in their way, they are unfinished chapters waiting to be understood. And once those chapters are finally faced, they often become the strongest part of a person's future. The one who loves you while keeping their distance is standing at the edge of one of those unfinished chapters. They already have everything they need. They have the love, they have the pain, they even have the ability to build something beautiful from both, even if they cannot fully see it today. What is still missing is one decision, one moment of courage, one choice to remain present instead of running when fear begins to speak. That single choice can change an entire life. Stay with me, because what comes next may be the most important part of this entire message. No matter how this story ends, there is one truth that should never leave your heart. Whatever happens from this moment forward, whether this person eventually finds the courage to come back fully, honestly, and without fear, or whether they remain someone who loves quietly from a distance, you must never allow their decision to become the measure of your value. Your worth has never depended on another person's ability to stay. You are not defined by the empty spaces someone else leaves behind. You are not made smaller because another person's fear became stronger than their courage. And you are certainly not less lovable because someone could not express what they truly felt. Every love you have experienced, especially the ones that challenged you, shaped you, and even hurt you, has helped reveal more of who you really are. Every person who entered your life and left it differently than you hoped became part of your growth. Even the painful chapters carried lessons that comfort never could have taught. Little by little, through every joy and every disappointment, you have been becoming a stronger, wiser, and more complete version of yourself. Keep listening, because there is something else you need to remember whenever you think about this person. Someone is thinking about you even now. Their feelings for you are real, but their fear has not yet learned how to become presence. They carry you quietly in the deepest part of themselves, a place that even they struggle to understand. Whether that love eventually steps into the light, or remains something private that both of you carry separately into the future, it does not change the truth. What existed between you mattered. It still matters. Love does not stop being real simply because it never found the right moment or the right words. It does not lose its meaning because fear interrupted its path. Even when two people walk away from each other, genuine love continues shaping them long after the conversations end. Long after silence stretches into months, and then years. Some connections continue teaching us without another word ever being spoken. Their influence quietly remains inside us, changing the way we understand ourselves, the way we trust, and the way we love again. Stay with me, because the next truth may speak directly to your heart. If you have loved someone who stayed away, if you have carried your heart through uncertainty, with more patience than you ever believed possible, then hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not someone who was forgotten. You are simply living through one of the deepest experiences the human heart can know. You are discovering that love is not a transaction where kindness guarantees the ending you hoped for. Love is not a reward handed out only to those who deserve it most. Love is a gift that cannot be forced, controlled, or perfectly explained. It arrives in unexpected ways. Sometimes it stays. Sometimes it leaves before we are ready. Sometimes it teaches us lessons we never wanted but later become grateful for. We cannot always choose how love enters our lives or how it changes shape, but we can choose how we carry ourselves through every chapter. That choice becomes the beginning of real strength. And there is one final truth you should never forget. The hidden reason behind their distance will not remain hidden forever. One day they may finally understand it themselves. They may find the courage to speak the words they have carried silently for so long. Or life may reveal the answer in another way, through time, through distance, or through an ending that gently brings clarity where confusion once lived. But no matter what they choose, you already know something incredibly important about yourself.